Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Success Labs Academy. In today's sessions, I'll be talking about more about the architectural leading practices. So many of my students, they have approached how to read those ALP documents. What is ALP document? How it is different from your typical implementation guide? How it is different from your typical IDP document, that is an implementation design principles. Why, as a consultant, we should refer this document, right? So all those topics today I'm going to cover. So before that, let me show you how you can navigate through those ALP document and from where you can download. Although there are so many discussions in the different platform, different communities, but people still do not know how to navigate to this. So for this, you can log into your community.successfactors.com. So once you log in using your SUser ID, you will be finding a link here in the resources. And inside the resources, the first one, that's an architectural leading practices, or in short, we call it ALP, right? So this is, people think it is only for the architect. No, answer is no. Even if you are a fresher, even if you have started your job now with SuccessFactors, still you will be able to understand, because this is something you have to understand underlying principles, how different guidance, what are the best practices. There are although the typical frameworks, how actually why we do what we do, all those principles behind this, you will be finding it, right? So many times, so why we need it? So typically, why we should go through this kind of a document whenever, first of all, right? So you have to, whenever you are going for any kind of implementation, it's not like straightforward. Different organizations have their different own requirements. They are coming from a different industries, right? So whatever the recommended configurations or you are guiding, there should be a guiding principles, right? Because system is designed in such a way. So SAP SuccessFactors is designed in such a way. Most of the organizations, most of the industry will cater to it. But again, you have to also understand what are the leading practices whenever you are going for it. So ALP, this is kind of a North Star for any organization those are implementing SuccessFactors, whether you are from a client end or whether you are from a consulting side of it. You have to always follow these assets. Initially, when I started, this kind of assets were not available, but over a period of time, SAP team has recognized the fact that this is a very necessary document, so that we will save those projects. Many times consultants, what I have seen, they implement whatever the clients ask. They do not understand the why behind it. So understanding why the customer is asking, is there any other way of doing it, right? What are those design principles? What are all those things we will be covered in this kind of a topics, right? So now again, how about the other documents? Also, in some of the other videos, I talked about IDP document. That is your implementation design principles, right? Also, there are process library offered by SuccessFactors, right? So in some other videos, I have covered all these topics. What is SAP model company for HR framework, right? So ALP is not deviating, rather it is aligned with whatever we are saying. What are the other products? What are the other documents? Those frameworks is aligned with that, right? So this asset is again, if we different from a strategy point of view, defining there are various documents like instance strategy, deployment strategy, integration strategy. So all the strategy documents are essential for your any kind of understanding point of view, from a design principles point of view. So what we're going to do, so there are how many documents we will see in every session. So we will try to cover at least one document. I know, I understand people have all those documents in their laptop, but I do not go through it many times. So only the essential part, they will just have an overview of it. But we have to, as a consultant or as a future architect, you should always refer this strategy document. Maybe your organization strategy may be slightly different, okay, but this is a kind of a guiding principles. It is SAP also not saying that you have to 100% follow it, but this is a guiding North Star for any kind of decisions you are making. Then only you will be able to getting you whatever the investment you are doing as an organization or as a client in your business on SuccessFactors, you'll be getting you'll be realizing those value of those investment, right? So with that note, so today we are going to start the first episode of it. We will start with the basic fundamental from a platform and shared objects category. And inside that, my favorite, organizational structures. So we will go through this ALP in details today. Maybe in the upcoming sessions, we will be going for the other ALP today. So other ALP documents and how, what is the understanding, what is the rationale behind of it. Okay. So we will go one by one. So today we're going to start with the ALP of organizational structure. Okay. So this is people who are working in employee central position management, and all those fundamentals. This is one of the fundamental key modules you cannot ignore. So this is at the basic, whenever you're starting your structure, your position management or structure, enterprise structure, if you're coming from SAP, ERP, HCM background, okay, you can resonate with me that we have said there enterprise structure, personal area, personal sub area, all those concepts were there, right? So how those things, entire OM module, whatever we have studied in the SAP ERP, HCM on-premise module, right? So those details, how it is different in SuccessFactors, how those things will be catering to. So these documents will be talking about it. So this is a public document available directly in the community portal, and you can see. So what are the different topics here? If you see here in this particular ALP, we do have foundation objects. What are the different scenario in different organization? Okay, so also why we do what we do. What is the philosophy behind those org structure? Many of you, if you are having an exposure to an organization design, okay, so I will recommend if you are not understanding what is the org structure, what is the basic of people who are having an MBA in HR, or if you have some experience in doing this kind of activity, maybe it will be very easy for you. Otherwise, there is a, I will recommend there is an OD design certification that is for people who are very new. What does it mean? So OD design or design rather. This is free optional, but it will be shaping, you'll be understanding much better what is an organizational design. I follow AIHR. So it's there is a certification complete guide you'll be finding. So basic model for the different organization design model. I will recommend, even if you are not an expertise, but at least you should have understand what is a typical org structure, typical what are the different what is org design, what are different models available, because this is coming from a business angle. Okay, so you will be able to understand. So people, even I do have a subscription of this. If you want to any kind of reference, so I will be sending in the below YouTube this link wherever you are watching this video. I'll be sending a link how to navigate, how to these courses. This link I'll be providing. And at the same time, this is also a very beautiful articles curated by this team, Academy to Innovate HR. I appreciate their very high quality content, right? So you will be finding all those details. Okay, this is more from the strategy point of view, but this understanding is very good. If you are, even if you are not 100% implementing in SuccessFactors all of those stuff, but I will recommend how does it work, how different type of organization structure works, right? So you'll be able to having a fair idea about this. Okay, so this is just over and above I have just mentioned. It is not mandatory, but it is good to know so that you'll be getting a picture in the structure. Now, after understanding the org structure, then we will be seeing how it is impacting, what are the different ways of realizing those org structure in this guide, okay, and what are the different resource materials available and all. So as I was saying, this is a document it will be giving an overall picture of it, how to understand those different key concepts, different design consideration, what are the pros and cons, so that you can give a information, you'll be able to inform and you can take a right decisions for any kind of, suppose you are a stakeholder, you are taking the decisions, right? So definitely you will be having understanding of this. And this is an audience wise, as I say, it is also relevant for the client team members who are part of the implementation, and also they will be making educated and informed decisions by undergoing through this kind of a documents, right? But typically, I don't know it to explain. ALP, this is again, although there are different ways of configurations, ALP will be your guiding star. Now you to provide what are the different recommended configuration decisions, what are the different topics you have to cover. So there are the different stuff you'll be finding. It is again, it is aligned with your data architecture, design principles, your process libraries, and so that you will be able to understand those pre-configured process content framework as well. So this document is a lot of value. Don't ignore it. It's just like another document, but this can be reusable. You can prepare your customer strategy or different what are different real-time experience approaches. It is also talk about different building block of your different architectural leading practices. So I'm not going through in details about it, but I will recommend to go through it. I will be directly jumping to the typical particular topic. So here, people who have already completed the certifications, you may tell what is the foundation object in the chart or in the comment section if you're watching it from the YouTube. What is the foundation objects? Okay, I see that few of you have started answering it. Okay, anyway, so when I say structure, right? Everything has a structure, right? Suppose if you take the example from nature as well, right? Everything is well structured by the divine, right? Isn't it? Everything starts, every morning we have a definite time of sunrise, sunset. Again, we have different flowers, different plants. They're very particular. If you have seen the flower structure, right? Very well designed, well defined. Everything has a structure, right? So now saying, not a perfect example, but say whenever I'm talking about structures in typical from an HR point of view. So again, it is not only for success factors, right? You can have a structure in different. When I talk about HR, from an organizational point of view, we'll be having a definitely structure. How those employees, how those their positions, how they are positioned inside the company. Okay. So again, this will be particular structure. So that we call it as the organizational structure. Similarly, in the organizational structure, they will be talking about the company code, which is also known as legal entity. Under that company code, again, we will be having business units. Again, you will be having different divisions. Divisions will be having further departments. Again, they will be mapped to some cost center positions. Okay. So there can be different structures. Again, there will be different entities or components to it. Okay, this again vary from organization to organizations. That you can study about what kind of structure you're following from the org design models, as I have said. Similarly, we can also, when it comes to job, right? Job structures again, it will talk about what people do in the organization. So org structure will say where employee and position belongs, but job structure, it will say what they do in that particular structure. Okay, so it is all about doing different activities. Again, when it comes to job structure, again we have a different hierarchies. We will be having a job family, say job family. In another video, I talked about more about job structure, job architecture rather. So in that, you can watch that video in one of the other sessions I conducted. So we have a job family, then we have a job function, job code, job role. What are the different competencies, the skill set required to do well in that particular job? All those details will be part of your job structure. Let's say job family will be your HR, okay? And inside that, you will be having your different job functions, like you can have a recruiting, you can have a learning and development team, you can have a well-being team, you can have a payroll team. There are core HR, okay, multiple things are there. So that is an example of a job structure. Similarly, the hard one is a payroll. Payroll, when it comes to this structure, pay structure will be talking about what should be getting paid, how employees are getting paid, because every organization, they have a pay group, they have a pay range, they have a pay component, whether it is a basic, HRA, your different insurance, different your allowances, meals allowances, study allowances, different allowances. Those are different components, right? Then again, you'll be having pay component group. So these are different elements of a pay structure, right? And same goes with the location. So geographically, where exactly employees are physically sitting in the organization. So it will be location structure, we'll be talking about that. So in the location structure, again, you will be having location, your location group, your particular geographical areas, all those details will be covered here. Okay. So when it comes to the structures in SuccessFactors, so this is something, this is four varieties. You can say organizational structure, job structure, pay structure, and location structure. So this is again from a position management point of view, or overall understanding from an organization management point of view. You have to understand, and position is aligned everywhere. Position will be having mapping to all of these things, right? So now we will quickly do a recap in our mind map, right? So how to structure in this, what are the different four types of structure, as we are covering our first ALP session. So I'll be mapping it as a ALP001 org structure. CTURE org structure, ALP, and this in this mind map I will be talking about. I'll quickly summarize for your reference. Central idea is all about ALP org structure. And first of all, we talked about your types. Inside the types, we had four different types we have understood. Let me quickly write those four structures. First one is a organization structure. Then we have job structure. Then we have pay structure and location structure. So my typical way of understanding, once we do the mind map, it will be definitely easy for you to understand all this stuff. Job structure. Then we do have pay structure. And every structure will be having its own elements to it, so that we are not capturing here. So you can see org structure. Then the last one is your location structure. So then in these ALP sessions, I'm not going to do any kind of a hands-on. So for hands-on, we'll be having different sessions that will be live sessions again in my platform. But this is just a common understanding for everyone. So this will be not a hands-on conceptual sessions for a better understanding of the topic, right? Yeah. So now let's go to the different entities here. So we have on the org structure, we do have what are the components. We have legal entities. Then we do have business unit. So one of the tasks I can give you, you can give some examples for all of it, right? So what is a legal entity business unit? Then next one, we do have division department cost center. Division, we do have department. Then we do have cost center position. Cost center, then we do have position, or it can be also a custom objects. Yep. So this is how the 7 layer you can see, right? Legal entity, business unit, division. Then we do have department. We do have cost center. We do have position. Then we do have also, wherever required, it is a custom objects as well, right? So this is all about your first component, that is your org structure. So this is all about where physically the locations, or basically where inside the organization the employee and positions are belonging to, right? Similarly, in the job structure, so you might have heard about concept of job profile builder, all those topic. So now in the job structure, part of the components will be there, we are going to see here, right? So here in the job structure, basically we'll be having job family. We can start with the job family. Then definitely we will be having your job function. Then we will be having the actual job, which is having a job descriptions into it. Then we do have job code. Definitely every job will be having a job code to attach to it. Then we do have job role, competence, and skills. Job role. We do have competencies and skills. So in another video, I talked about, I think it is in my platform. You can find out, if you do not know what are the difference between skills, competencies, right? So maybe it can be a task for you. You can share your notes in my platform. What are the difference between competency, skills, and all those matrices? Okay. So this is, again, there are 7 steps, 7, I think. Yeah. Now coming to our pay structure. Okay, so this you got an overall idea about the job structure, job. So JD will be around this job, right? So now moving to the pay structure, the third one, it is straightforward. We have 6 components here: pay group, then we do have pay range. Basically, if you are, this will be, you'll be getting more idea about it in the compensation module, SuccessFactors compensation module. We have comparison, minimum, maximum, all those terminology will be coming across. But for the timing, you just understand pay range means for a particular salary, for a particular role, what should be the job, what should be the minimum and maximum salary, and the difference is the pay range. Okay. Similar, the pay frequency will be like how frequently you are getting paid, whether it is a monthly, whether it is a bi-weekly, or it is a weekly. So based on that, okay, that is called pay frequency. Okay. So next one is a pay component group. So people who are coming from SAP HCM on-premise background, this is nothing but your wage type and wage type group. Very straightforward, right? So pay component, it can be your basic, HRA, your whatever allowances you're having, those wage type code will be mapped here. Pay component, that is nothing but your pay component. Similarly, the pay component group is nothing but your wage type group. Let's say you're having group of wage types, which are all about your different deductions only, okay, or specific allowances only. Okay, so then it will be, we can have a grouping of those pay component group as well, right? This is pay component group. Similar, the pay calendar. So again, so people who are running payroll, at what time people will be, what period of you are running a payroll, at what point of time you are going to do the bank transfers, finance posting, all those stuff, right? So everything will be based on this. So again, so it has a structure again. Okay, this is not random. Everything has a structure. So you can find it very helpful understanding this. So this is why we are referring in the org structure, because this is all, everything has interconnected with each other, right? So pay component, pay structure, job structure, org structure, location structure, everything is well connected with each other. So whenever you will study more about the position management and all these details, you will be finding this very helpful, right? So now this is all about the pay structure we have talked about. Okay. So now coming to the location structure. Okay. People who are coming from SAP HCM on-premise background, you can also have a prepare a chart like what we have you have understood in the SAP HCM. What is the equivalent entities in this success factor world? Okay, so that you will be able to relate to it. People who are not coming from SAP HCM, I will not be saying that you go and read SAP HCM, but yeah, so that's the thing. You don't have to, but still, it is good to know a little bit of both the world. What are the on-premise world work like that? And because I have myself, I started in on-premise SAP HCM in 2010, almost close to 6 years. I have worked in that area. Then after that, I moved to SuccessFactors. Since then, yeah. So, but again, still sometimes there are pros and cons. Yeah, but yeah, so you can refer those guides. Still, there are materials available. Okay, for on-premise, it is not going to dead as soon, but SAP strategic investment, as SAP says, will be always on the success factor. Okay, so now let's move on. So the last one is the location structure. Location structure is a few components. We do have location group, then again, so location, specific location, you'll be having group of location, then location, exact location, and particular geo. Okay, so as an exercise, I will say you that you have to give an example of each of these things. Okay, you have to go through your implementation guide, what are the materials available, but publicly authentic materials. I will not say any random laws that, but SAP's authentic material, authentic implementation guide, and just to find it out, what are the different examples, all these things. So I have just prepared the framework for you for ease of reading, for ease of understanding, and this mind map will be available publicly, and you will be getting a download of this. If you're watching from my platform, my learning platform, you'll be getting from there. Or if you are watching it from my YouTube or any other social media channel, you'll be getting this in the link below this post, right? So now let's come back to the types. So we talked about the different types of org structure, job structure, pay structure, and location structure. Now let's move on to the next topic of it. After understanding this, all the types, let's move on to the next segment of it. Next segment is the implementation scenario. Yeah, so this is interesting because one size doesn't fit all. Every organization, they have their own complexity, they have their own scenarios, they have for that reason, and also the types of implementation, what stage they are implementing, how. So because some organization, they may start with the talent module, some organization may start with EC module, right? Again, some of the organization, they may have a heavily invested in SAP HCM, they might be moving to success factor. Everything has a different approaches. So here in this, we will be talking about the 3 different scenarios as per this ALP guide. We'll be discussing that. So the first scenario is actually EC being implemented with all SAP talent modules. ECP is being implemented. Okay, no requirement for org chart for any other downstream systems. Okay, so in what does it mean by upstream and downstream? So basically, so from here, any system is any data going from outside, or if you're downloading those details, or it is impacting some any other system from SuccessFactor, that will be your downstream system, right? So here, in this scenario, let's say you're already having, so you are in a safe zone, you don't have to do much, right? So you're in this case, you see if it is already everything is implemented, right? So in that case, in this scenario, org structure used as the reporting structure, definitely. And it can be utilized the different filter option, the different talent models, what are the talent models you will be working on, right? So that will be part of this. Again, your RBP. whatever the role-based permissions you are doing the setting, you will need to be part of that. Okay. So now we'll be studying about this much more details in the different other slides. So let's see in the slides, whatever it is there, slide number 20. Okay. So this is the options 1 or the scenario 1, which you can see here. Organizations, options 1, standard, whatever you talk about. Organizational structure, standard top-down hierarchy. Okay, so this is one option they are saying. So it's standard and custom MDF, top-down. Option 2 is top-down hierarchy. So here standard top-down hierarchy. So here again, you'll be having your legal entity below that, location, cost center, location group, geo zone. So in the option 1, we are having business unit in the level 1, if you can see here, division at the level 2, department is the level 3, right? Here, again, business unit will be mapped to a multiple division or a single division. Each and every division can have, I'm saying, not every division, but if you see in this diagram, division 2 doesn't have any department below it, right? But division 1, division 3, division 4 have 2 departments below each, right? So it is very important to understand, we do not typically see business unit related to the legal entity. This is an important concept. Business unit may not be related to legal entity. Maybe the finance structure remains separate from the HR structure, with cost centers being assigned on position either from legal entity or department. So this is very, I will take a pause here. If you do not understand, just let me know. If any of you have any queries understanding this. This is a very important topic. So many of the organizations, they will struggle to this, whether who will be maintaining what, whether it is whether we can replicate the finance structure to the HR structure, but they have a different purpose, right? Maybe it can be in finance structure can be more granular, but your HR structure, they do not require that kind of a granularity, right? But finance structure, you may need more granularity to understand the cost center wise, right? So here, this is an important point to understand. Finance structure can remain separate from the HR structure, and where cost center can be again assigned on the position, either from a legal entity or department. It's a very important point. So your cost center still can be assigned on the position, either it is taking from the legal entity or it is taking from your specific departments, right? Okay, so this is something we have to very clear. Okay, so this is a very important point. Then what does it say in this org structure standard top-down hierarchy? Most of the ERP solution, they look like in this way: business unit, division, and department, right? Your, in such a case, one parent object can have multiple child objects. So here is a parent child. So what are the toys coming at the top? There's a parent, and these are the different child entities. In this case, business unit can be the parent, and below that we'll be having divisions as a child, right? So what does it say? Each object conveys information about the label and also an attribute of the structure that can be used to drive reporting with the success factors. And with this structure, there are two options of the people who are situated in the hierarchy, such as CEO and other level. So here, for that reason, they are saying you are having two options. Only define the level that are applicable. Suppose CHR is at level 2, then don't provide any value into the department object, right? This is one thing. Second options, for those employees who only have level 2, such as the CHRO, then ensure that level 3 is a default object that has the same value as the parent level 2 object. Example, if they have given, if the division is CHR or chief, and say let's say division is your chief human resources, then department should also be created to say chief human resources. Okay, this will ensure the attributes can individually be used for reporting in SF. Okay, so this is the option 2 they are saying. This is something how we can go for from understanding point of view, how we can design all these things, right? This is one part. Okay, similarly, as we have talked about with standard, we can utilize standard or custom MDF objects, right? So this can be possible that your typical org structure will be composed of 4 things. Your legal entity will be having, then it will be aligned to a cost center, right? Similarly, you will be having business unit, your division, department, okay, or any other thing custom. If you are having a solution, that also can be added to enhance the structure. Okay, so here you can see in this scenario we have a subdivision also below division. Okay, so again there is a recommendation. It is recommended the department is the lowest level in the organizational structure, because this is what is required for the standard connector to LMS to work. If custom objects are added below department, then a custom connector is needed. Okay, so if you are having an LMS implementation, if you are planning for LMS implementation, SuccessFactors, right? If you are adding a custom objects below the department, okay, then a custom connector will be required. Okay, that is an understanding, because standard, the lowest level will be always a department, legal entity, business unit, division, department, business unit, division, department, BDD. Yeah, so this is something should be, but if you're having below that as well, then you have to be careful. So this note section you cannot ignore. Otherwise, latter point of time, if you're implementing LMS, you will be finding some difficulties. So this is the one type of a structure which you talked about, standard top-down hierarchy. Okay, so now the next one can be the top-down hierarchy. So here, org unit object department in this case is used for visualizing our structure, and for replication to SAP S/4HANA HCM. They are also duplicating level 1 as a business unit, level 2 is for division for reporting point of view. This is again, they are duplicating the department. If you can see here, legal entity, below that we do have business unit, then we have department 1, department 2, department 3, and inside that we have also the entire structure you can see, right? Department, again, business only, under the division we have department, right? And similarly, you can see there is also department below all these things, right? Business unit, division, then followed by department. Okay, so these are again how they are linked with each other. There are some associations. If there is a parent-child relationship, you can see it is marked by the blue color, right? So this is something how this is a top-down hierarchy can be designed in another way, right? Suppose the option 3, suppose you want to have only top-down hierarchy only for the departments, that also possible, right? If you see here, the org unit department in this case, right? It is used for any kind of visualizing the org structure, okay? And for any kind of a replication, whatever you will be doing in HCM, okay? Mostly it is applicable for large and multiple level organization, right? Organization structure, top-down hierarchy department only, right? So we have a department under department like that. So you can see legal entities are top, then we do have department 1, department 2, department 3. Then again, we are having sub-departments reporting to this particular departments as well. So in this, there is again a detailed example how we can define, let's say, add flattened structure to department and replicate to the positions and employees. So if you're having this kind of a structure, it will help you. What are the benefits? It will be helping in the reporting performance. It can be used in an integration center or API to get the children of the department. It can be used in any kind of a validation, used in RBP as a restriction. So these are key benefits you'll be getting if you're having flattened structure like this, right? And in this right-hand side, you can see a perfect example for it. Like suppose, let's say your department level 1 is a leadership team in America. Your level 2 can be leadership team for US. Again, level 3, we can have a operations, and inside we do another department level production US. Okay, so this can be a structure, right? So then now after understanding this is a kind of different three options we had talked about. Now going back to our structure which we are discussing, let's see. So here again, these are again covered all the 3 options, right? There are different scenarios. Now, as I talked about, so if your EC is being implemented with SAP Talent modules, you're going for a third-party payroll. You are not utilizing SuccessFactors Employee Central payroll, rather using some other third-party payroll. Like, so here, what is the requirement? Basically, org structure is simple with less than 5 levels, right? And position structure is leading hierarchy. This is an important one. Roll-up of hierarchy will happen based on position structure in Employee Central. So whatever the entire roll-up activity will be happening. This will be based on your position structure, right? Now, so third scenario. So scenario wherever this is again EC is there. Second scenario, EC is being implemented with SAP talent modules. Payroll is not a priority here. Okay, this is the requirement again. Okay, so third one is again you are implementing SAP. You are already having existing SAP ERP S4, and you are planning SAP customer, and you are moving to EC. Okay, so in that case, SAP payroll system will remain core hybrid deployment. Okay, but that requires the mini master data integrations, data applications, right? So for S/4HANA, your identity manager, your Concur cannot change org structure. This is an understanding, you have to understand very carefully. And it has a deep organizational levels inherited from the legacy. Org structure should be same in both the systems, right? Number range also should be same. If you are maintaining both the things, right, then you have to understand the peculiarities of this. If you are having core hybrid deployment and you need any kind of mini master data replication, definitely S/4HANA, whatever you are using, you have to understand this concept, right? So you will be you require both the org structure and number ranges should be the same across. Okay, it can be numeric. So in this case, your EC will be the leading structure for OM. Okay, and SAP payroll system if you are utilizing, then it can use the position structure of that. And we have to ensure that org structure should not be changed in downstream systems. So you are utilizing S/4HANA, your Concur, it should not be changed in the downstream structure. That is the prerequisite or requirement whenever you're going for this scenario. Okay. So what we talked about, so first scenario is all about, so now coming to our mind map. So we have seen 3 types of scenario. So like if you see here, I'm talking about scenario. Scenarios. So there are 3 scenarios we talked about. Scenario 2, scenario 3. So first scenario we talked about is very simple. So we have already EC is there, EC plus ECP is there. So nothing much to worry in that structure, and we are just also we are having the talent modules being implemented, right? So it is very straightforward. So we have a standard, all these things. Then EC ECP talent model, that is the first scenario. Second one is EC plus talent, but the third party payroll. Payroll as a third party payroll. Here we have EC plus talent, but payroll is from the third party. Many of the cases you can find in this kind of scenario as well. Third party payroll. This is a possibility. Now coming to the third scenario, you are mostly for a large organization, you're having S4, you do have your Concur, plus you're already having some you are a migration, means you are moving from a SCM to EC. Okay, and this is a scenario. HCM, it may be S4, SCM to SAP EC if you are moving or you're planning to move. This is also applicable for you. And if you're planning to integrate with S4 in a hybrid setup, so basically require it. Basically, this is a hybrid setup. setup, and you require HR mini master to be replicated. Okay, so definitely HR mini master will be coming into picture. So you have to think about it. HR mini master. This is a requirement here, HR mini master. Now coming to here, what does it say? All the best practices now we have seen, right? If it is second one, if it is third party, definitely make it simple, less than 5 level. Your position structure will be leading the hierarchy, and roll up hierarchy will be based on your position structure, whatever is in EC, because this is already being implemented. Third scenario, which I talked about, it is inherited from the SAP HCM, but EC will be always the leading structure for OM. Your SAP PS system can utilize the position structure, okay, and make sure organizational should not be changed down. This is a very important point. Suppose, let's say you are having an structure, right? And this is a very important point to remember here in this scenario, that I'll be making a note for it. Add some notes that org structure should not be changed in the downstream system, either it is S/4HANA or ID manager or Concur, right? So this is in comment section. I just put it here. In this scenario, it should not have this kind of a detail about it, right? So now coming to it, third one, after understanding this, okay, so this is all about the different, we talked about implementation scenario, right? So now let's move on to the next topic. This was all about, first of all, we talked about different structure. Then we talked about 3 major implementation scenarios here. Now with understanding this, now we will move on to the next topic. That is our philosophy behind this ALP, philosophy behind this business scenarios, which is already we have we'll be talking about, right? So this is again a different definitions. Many of you already know about it. What are the key definitions, all these things, okay? You can go through it. I am not going to emphasize on it. You can read off your own. This is a task for you. So all these are defined. People who are starting new, what is a legal entity, you may not be knowing, right? So what is a legal entity? What is a business unit? What is a division? What are the departments, right? So I will recommend to also understand the examples, okay? So here we do have all the object definition is there. Understand from the definition, as well as same time I will say you to understand the examples. Many of some of the cases, I think they have already given an example. Let's say position, right? So you can say positions are considered instance of a role, like sales director is a role, and sales director Northeast is a region, the position, right? It can be assigned a job role, competencies, various. Some of the cases to be very clarified in an example, but let's view, you can bring in your own example, right? All these things can be understood, right? So I'm not going to emphasize on this concept, yeah. So here there are also some few footnotes. You can see some of the objects are very specific EC. If you're utilizing talent hybrid scenario, this object doesn't exist in the source system, okay? And you have to understand again how to create all those things. We do use organ structure in other module like LMS only partially, where we import data from employee profile and the both scenario, okay? So this is something we have to understand, okay? So this is all about the definitions, okay? So a few pointer. So like any kind of planning you are doing, any kind of activity you are doing, any kind of mapping of a reporting, any kind of forecasting you do, right? So this should be coming from here. All these things are interlinked with each other, right? So organization management, again, this is all based on your OD, object-oriented design with individual characteristics, right? Your organization management, right? Similarly, it is a backbone of any kind of structure which you study also in your SCM on-premise, right? So this is an org structure from the point of view. So how it is utilized basically, where exactly this EC org structure or whatever org structure we have seen, Okay, how it is going to be utilized. So you can see there is a diagram here. On the left-hand side, I can see EC org structure component. In the right-hand side, I can see the EP, your employee profile components, right? So these are, it can be also a sync. You can see the division department location. In the right-hand side, also division department location. And it can be done, a mapping can be done. How it can be synced, okay? So here you can see what you are seeing here. Your EC org structure will be always used to for any kind of a reporting and analytics. And EP organization structure, where it will be used to any kind of, to drive any kind of RBP group or dynamic groups, or it is a drive any kind of a workflow groups, right? In those cases, you have to find out from there, right? And your EP organization structure, inside that, you'll be finding a dashboard, compensation for you to filter. You can apply those filters to understand those structural field, right? This is something you have to understand. Where is org structure? Whatever you have designed is fine, but what is the benefit where exactly it is this org structure are utilized, okay? Many cases, so it will be a reporting point of view, again from a workflow point of view, whether some other modules of SuccessFactors, whatever you're going to utilize. It can be performance management, it can be learning management, succession, RBP, CDB, whatever modules you are going to implement, right? So they make good relations, to say direct relations with all those modules, right? So this is something, the benefit of this, where it is used, to understand. Now, coming to this structure, this is already we have talked about those three options: standard, top-down hierarchy. Then we talked about standard, not standard, top-down normal hierarchy. Okay, and third one is a top-down hierarchy department. So everything is a department driven only. Then that can be your third options. Okay, so here, flattened structure they have recommended here. So it can improve your, if you're using top-down hierarchy department only structure, okay? So then it will definitely improve your report performance, your integration center using validation, RBP, all these things, right? Okay, so now one of the tasks which I have given already at the answer is there. So people who are coming from SAP HCM, this screen is specifically for you, okay? So now whatever I have talked about for the last 1 hour, it has been summarized here in the particular diagram, how it has been mapped. You can see in the left-hand side, we have Employee Central, right-hand side, we have SAP ERP HCM. Okay, so we have talked about in SAP HCM, people who have attended my earlier courses or watched any of previous video on OMPA, I must have talked about SPOCK, right? So you can see the series in SAP ERP HCM, S for position, P for your person is not there, but org unit, your job, and C, cost center stands for key, and how it has been mapped to each other. So you can see position to position is the easy one. Legal entity, again, company code is the easy one. Job classification, what we're talking about, is a jobs. See here, cost center, again, mapping. Only one thing is that we finding different is whatever we used to call it org unit in the OM module, that is a 3 components here. So like here, we do have a business unit, division, and department. But in the OMP structure, if you talk about, if you remember, SAP ERP HCM, everything was only OM or org unit only. Okay, whether it is a business unit, division, or department, it was an object O only. Okay, so that's the key difference. This diagram you can remember, right? So this is how the mapping of S/4HANA HCM OM and the EC objects happens, right? So now coming to here, from a design perspective, again we'll be talking about design perspective. It is not recommended to replicate the same ERP org structure. Yeah, so many of the implementations fail due to this. So people might be thinking that they have been doing the same thing for the last 40 years, 50 years, but they want to replicate the same thing in the SuccessFactors. It is not, right? So always we have to see what from a different angle. Okay, maybe it was working fine, but when it moving to a cloud, it comes with a different mindset. You have to understand the importance of the change management in a particular organization, whether it can be structure, process, or data, right? So it is possible the org structure could be suboptimal for downstream, for which utilize the data. For example, assignment of a learning, RBP, workflow, reporting filter, right? Data structure can become very complex to maintenance, which can lead to complexity in configurations. Complexity in integration, data inconsistency in error can be also lead to the poor user experience. Okay, so data structures just make it very simple. Okay, always recommended. And all the 3 options, whatever you've discussed, maybe you can choose a pick one, which is the right fit for you. It is important to consider the following when designing the org structure. EC has 3 levels in the org structure: is standard, Is it necessary to increase to this more than 4 or 5? Okay, so these are key questions you have to understand. In EC has a 3 level of structure. So you can see here we talked about legal entity, then we have division, department, locations, cost center, all these things, right? EC has 3 levels of structure, standard. It is necessary. So you have to think about it. In which HR process are the levels of structure important? Can the same requirements can be made in a different way, right? What are the different requirements of other downstream systems? How can this made be serving the needs of HR, right? So we have to think all about this pointer, right? So now this is from a design perspective. Now coming to impact and recommendation point of view. So as an architect, you're always required after understanding client landscape. So it always give a feedback, always give a recommendations, what are the best practices, even if you're going through. Maybe always whatever the SAP best practices may not be directly fit for purpose for the client organization. Then you have to come up with a new solutions or with a right recommendations so that that business will not stop, right? So here, from an impact point of view, there are different scenarios. Again, they have talked about. So like there are multiple scenarios. So you can see here, like the first one, customer is on from a org structure impact point of view. Customer is already on the SAP on-premises. They're going for full cloud and operate for phase-wise country rollout. Okay, so they would like to phase-wise country rollout. In that case, what you have to do? This again, you can think of like a case studies. Let's say customer ABC, they are in SAP on-premise, and they would like to full cloud for they're having, let's say, presence in 20 countries. So what will be the approach? What will the basic requirement, right? So here they are saying SAP is recommending migrating complete job info history is not recommended. It is complex to map historical data, definitely, and it's long cutover timer, definitely. It is a point. So we don't have to like say how many jobs they have changed, how many, what are the job history in the same company. We don't have to do all those details, right? Similarly, in EC, entities like business unit, division, department doesn't exist in SAP HCM, right? It will require data construction and relevant mapping to position or employee. So you have to always think about it. Okay, if you are doing a mapping and if you're already on premise and you're planning to go for rollout to full cloud, so SuccessFactors, right? Similarly, number ends would be same in both the systems, will be numeric, right? So you have also consider this. Next one is, let's the next scenario, it is all about customer is currently non-SAP premise. They're going for full cloud and opted for big bang. So the difference is first one is a phase wise, second one is a big bang, but otherwise the remaining things remain same. They're already in the on-premise, they're going for a full cloud, right? So it is recommended to go live with this approach as basic processes are based on the org structure. Okay, that is fine. So this is a planning for a big bang approach, nothing harm in doing that. Third option, customer is on SAP on-premise using talent hybrid. They're going for full cloud and operate for big bang, right? So again, in this case, you can recommend it to go live with the approach of basic processes based on the org structure, whatever you have created in Employee Center. Not much impact you'll be finding here. Now, next one is customer is in basically on-premise using talent hybrid, but they are going full cloud and phase-wise country rollout. In this case, SAP is saying that it is okay, you can go live for this, okay, structure and whatever you're considering different integration points, adoption, okay. So based on that, you have to think about it, like whether you would like to go for live with this, right? Customers currently in SAP, they're going for full cloud and phase-wise country rollout, right? So you can also plan your day accordingly, or whenever you go live, you're going for live. You have to understand the go live on the entire full structure of this and how to consider those. Okay, so it is not so difficult to understand. You can do it. Fifth scenario is standard objects and custom object in EC to SAP on-premises. Okay, so here again, this is having a standard filters, whatever you talked about. Then standard objects like company, business unit, division, department, all will be phased out. So this is something we have to talk about later on. Similarly, the standard objects like company, business unit, division, department will go and get mapped in SAP EC standard objects. Custom MDF object in EC will go as a custom 1, 2, 3, and we can utilize the same as a filter. Okay, that's the valid point. So this can be also a requirement, right? So that's possible. Then this is something we talked about, scenarios for org structure. This was for org structure impacts based on your different inputs we have received. So next one is the org structure impacts. Here we talked about the different scenarios again, like customer is already on premise and they are going for a full cloud, but phase-wise. So what should be the typical requirements? Like they will be, then we have recommendations or basic requirements like here. Number should be the same, your division department. They do not exist in OM data, so you have to configure it. Okay. Similarly, customers currently on SAP premise, they're going for a full cloud. It is recommended to go live with an approach. Its basic processes are based on the org structure. Okay, so again based on your org structure, so you have to implement that, the basic structure. Third one is scenario on-premise customer talent hybrid solutions. They're going for full cloud, but they're going for a big bang approach. Okay, so it is recommended to go live with an approach as basic processes are based on the org structure in employee. If you're doing based on your org structure, there's no problem. There's no problem. Next one is we have full org structure and considering the large integration points, adoption of local businesses. Okay, so not standard filters. We do have standard filters for everything like company, business unit, division, department, so that people can know more about you. So this is something, it's part of standard objects, customer will mix up. Okay, this is again a different scenario. So we have seen multiple scenarios from an impact point of view. What are the different scenarios, and if you're doing this, what will be having the impact of it, right? So now scenarios, it is more detailed again. So I'm not going to all the details. I will be sharing. It is already available in the ALP guide series, right? And you will be finding very useful for each and every scenarios. We have different recommendations, right? So like let's say for EC and ECP, right? We'll be having recommendations like your roll-up hierarchy, learning about this, the different org structure we talked about, right? So there are different topics you'll be finding here. Okay, so there are different recommendations and all. Okay, so I'm not going to detail about it, but this is something which you have to understand. For the different scenarios, employee central and third-party payroll, we are having exported all these things. How will be this thing? So you'll be finding all the recommendations from here and all, right? Leading practices, integrations, org strategy, so link to other elements of documentations and all. Okay, so this is something we have to understand from this, right? So with this, I think we have completed the first guide, understanding the ALPs. We try to understand, just to summarize, we talked about 4 different structure of org structure. Then we talked about different scenarios, the 3 major scenarios we talked about. ECP talent model already implemented in the first scenario. Second scenario can be only the payroll is a third party. Fourth scenario is a kind of a very big organization. You are having all the products, almost major products of SAP like BTP, S4HANA, Kafka, you are having. So in that case, what will be your approach, right? So all these 3 things we have covered. So if you have any question, you can always reach out to me in the chat or in the platform, learning platform, which we have given access. So now with this, we can stop here and looking forward and another exciting session for another ALP series. In this ALP series guide, we'll be going one by one. So maybe in the next section, we may talk about job architecture and capability strategy, although there is another video related to this, but again, it will be very helpful for everyone. So with this note, we will stop here. Thanks everyone for joining in. Put your comments, show your love to my channel by sharing this content with the other one, because this is which is, I was thinking a long time that I will be publishing it. It is nothing rocket science. I have not shown any demonstration in the system and all, but this topic we never study. We never emphasize on the importance of an architect. So being an enterprise architect, I would definitely recommend to go through this. And if you want to learn any other more about this other courses, you can always go to my Linktree channel. From here, you'll be finding there are different levels of courses. Whether it is if you are to full-fledged, you can go for the level 3 diamond level courses. This is directly available. You can see almost similar style format framework I utilized for my upcoming or there are already sessions already ongoing. These are all dynamic modules, so it doesn't mean it's not a bunch of videos, right? For every modules based on demand, again, we create our videos for every modules. These are all dynamic in nature. So it's not very much static. Only this one course is having 5 chapter, 5 modules, not like that. Unlike a traditional learning system, right? This is something which I have designed. So in the store, you can subscribe, right? And yeah, thank you very much for joining in. Looking forward again for another new sessions for you. Welcome. So I will stop here. Thank you. Bye-bye.